Hello everyone, as with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this because now they're calling XRP centralized once again. And David Schwartz defends the XRP genesis against centralization claims. So a long-standing debate over the decentralization of the XRP ledger reignited late Sunday night with a dispute between prominent Bitcoin advocate Bram Kanstein and Ripple CTO David Schwartz. So the Bitcoin Maxi has recalled that the ledger's history does not begin at Ledger 1, but rather at Ledger 32,570. He views this as proof that XRP is and has always been a centralized project. Schwartz, however, has argued that handling of the XRP Genesis glitch was actually an example of decentralized inaction. Moreover, the architect behind the XRP ledger has compared this with two famous Bitcoin incidents that he believes displayed way more centralization. And it's these two right here. In his retort, Schwartz claimed that Bitcoin had at least two incidents that showed way more centralization. He confirmed that he was specifically referring to the value overflow bug. But I think you could make a good argument that it does. The biggest one I was thinking of was the coordinated 2010 rollback. This is the most critical bug in Bitcoin's history, often cited by critics to prove that Bitcoin's immutability relies on human intervention. So it took humans to fix the problems that Bitcoin had in the past, where David Schwartz argued that with the Genesis blocks, they just chose to do nothing and they let it work out on its own, which means XRP Ledger is more decentralized than Bitcoin. But these are the arguments that pop up now because they don't want you talking about the Epstein files. XRP Ledger developer says 100% taking profits on XRP at $10 and $27. And I see a lot of people talking about this, and a lot of people were criticizing this. Hey, if taking profit at $10 is part of your game plan, then stick to it. If taking profit at $27 is your game plan, then stick to it. That's the way I look at it. Everybody else looks at things differently. But to criticize someone for coming up with a game plan, that makes no sense to me. And we all know XRP is going to $100. When XRP was 0.006, a price of a quarter felt about as ridiculous as $100 does today. David was talking about the run in 2017-2018, where people expected XRP to maybe hit a quarter, and it ended up going to $3.84. This time around, everybody's expecting XRP to go to $27. So is XRP going to go to around $375? Nobody really knows. One thing is for sure, though. XRP is built to go above $100. It's built to be a 4 or 5 digit asset. And remember, they always told us that the banks would never hold XRP. Goldman Sachs was a co-investor in Ripple early on. And now it's revealed, and Eleanor Turek confirms this, that Goldman Sachs holds XRP. $153 million worth of XRP. Now, could you imagine how many other banks out there are holding XRP? I could tell you right now, JP Morgan is holding XRP. Most likely BlackRock and others as well. And especially Bank of America. They've been using XRP for internal transactions for a decent period of time now. But remember, no bank will ever hold this cryptocurrency. Once again, we proved all the haters wrong. XRP Ledger reflects Ripple's institutional adoption strategy as it hits all-time high in transactions. The XRP Ledger, it just keeps building more and more momentum. Even with the price of XRP dropping, the ledger hasn't slowed down in any way. In fact, it's picking up even more momentum. And this isn't reflected in the price of XRP now. And that's why I always tell people, you can't look at the price today. Don't stare at the price chart all day long. Think about the big picture here. As long as we see this type of momentum on the ledger, it's eventually going to be reflected in the price of XRP. Flare is beating Stellar and Cardano in total value lock. I've been telling people for a while now, especially people that think that they missed out on XRP. Buy Flare. It's dirt cheap. It's going to $1 quicker than people think. And you could buy a hell of a bag of Flare right now. It's sitting just above a penny. So if you think that XRP is too expensive, that my next alternative would be to buy the very cheap, dirt cheap Flare that's available right now. And I think Flare is going to emerge as a massive monster in this space. They keep building more and more momentum as time goes on. And remember, they want to lock away 5% of the total supply of XRP. 5 billion XRP. And we now got a new ETF. Defiance files a new XRP ETF, income ETF. This is not a spot XRP ETF. It's an income-focused ETF that uses option strategies on XRP to generate yield, offering regulated exposure for institutions without directly holding XRP. And the reason I wanted to mention this is because everybody's talking about yield right now. Institutions, once they get into this space, they're going to want yield on their investment. They're also going to want to have the ability to use whatever they invest in as collateral as well. Remember when the Bitcoin ETFs launched and I said back then, the institutions, they're going to push away from this eventually because they can't use it as collateral. No institution out there wants something on their balance sheet that they can't borrow against. If they could earn yield off of it, though, they will hold it long term. And there's a lot of controversy around this clip right here. Take a listen.
When did you, in your heart and mind, when did you know you wanted Kevin Warsh?
So
officially it was 2 Fridays ago, but when did you?
Well, I made a mistake. He was runner-up, if you want to say that.
He was a finalist.
Yeah, he was, and I made a mistake because I had somebody that was my Secretary of the Treasury, wanted him so badly, and you know, I didn't feel good about him. But sometimes you listen to people, and it was a mistake. It was really a big mistake. But I think we're going to do something that's really spectacular.
So was he saying that picking Kevin was the mistake? Other people are like, no, Hassett was the mistake, not Warsh. Other people are saying he's talking about Powell from back when he was the president last time around. He made a mistake here, and I think it's because a lot of people really want Judy Shelton as the new Fed chair because she's talking about pushing back to a gold-backed currency, and I get that. But there's no confirmation on whether or not he was talking about Kevin or not. I'm sure we will all find out very soon. And then there's a lot of controversy around this. Off the chart corruption, billions. Binance, whose founder was pardoned, now holds 87% of Trump's stablecoin. And this comes from Forbes. So a lot of people are now saying this is why CZ got his pardon. And other people are now boycotting Binance as well. But we sat back for 4 years and we watched these politicians make a lot of money through insider trading, and it still happens today. And because Trump's making some money off of crypto, right away, people are outraged by it. I look at it like this. Politicians are going to do what politicians do. And I'm not going to talk good or bad about this at all, because I sat back and I've watched this play out for years. And that's why they kept saying that politicians and their families need to be kicked out of the stock market and crypto. 40% of Bitcoin ETF holders are underwater. Take a listen to this.
It's not the ETF investors who are driving the sell-off. Assets are down, but most of that is price appreciation, right? Bitcoin is down more than 50% from its October 2025 peak. We've seen a handful of outflows, maybe $7 billion, but the vast majority of ETF investors show they're here for the long haul. The people who have been selling are mostly sort of OG, the original crypto investors. Remember, they own most of the asset. They've been accumulating it over 15 years, and they've been trimming their positions a little bit, not en masse, but a little bit. And that's what's been driving this pullback.
Now, Will, roughly 40% of the spot Bitcoin ETF holders are underwater right now. They need Bitcoin to go up roughly 50% in order to make themselves whole. How are you, working with some of your customers? Like, what is the general sentiment right now with respect to how the ETFs are trading? Is it just, are they people hanging in there to break even, exiting those positions?
I think that there's a lot of negative sentiment out there, and actually probably the most negative that I've seen in quite some time. And it's tough. It's tough to be a Bitcoin investor or a crypto investor right now when you look at the price of gold going through $5,000 an ounce, other assets appreciating to all-time highs. And I think the precious metals thing has really caught crypto investors sort of off guard. This is not supposed to happen. Gold's not supposed to go to all-time highs, and crypto sort of doesn't react like this. And so I think for a lot of people, the sentiment is negative. And therefore, we've seen that, manifested in, online, etc.
And the reason that they're 40% down is because they were buying the top, because everybody, including Matt Hougan, was telling them that this is an up-only game. Get in now. It's only going to go higher from here. But the OG Bitcoin holders are selling off for different reasons. You got to remember, the Bitcoin OGs, they are anti-government. They're anti-US dollar. They're anti-bank. So now that everybody's pushing for the US government to buy Bitcoin, they're like, we don't want any part of this. And the fact that the Epstein files clearly point at Bitcoin in a very bad way, I think that turned off a lot of the OG holders as well. But now they're hoping that it bounces back. But it's very unlikely. I mean, if we see a run up and people once they're even on their investment, you will see them flow out of Bitcoin, and that money's got to flow somewhere. And I think a lot of it's going to end up in utility-driven cryptocurrencies. XRP's 1,500% path to $24. Analyst warns investors to be prepared for when the correction resolves. And I like the chart that they have here. So you see how all of a sudden we start to see the breakout begin. But he has two different pullbacks happening on this breakout. One is just above $5 or around $5. And then the next one is when XRP is already above $10 in double digits before it makes its final ascent. Now, once we get to the first price point and we see a pullback, everybody, and I'm telling you, everybody is going to be telling you the top is in. Then it's going to go even higher. And then a pullback's going to happen, slight pullback. And everybody's going to be telling you the top is in once again. And then it's going to go higher. This is why you put together a game plan. And if your game plan is to sell off some XRP at $10, then stick to that game plan. There's nothing wrong with taking profit in crypto. Don't listen to all these haters out there that are going to be telling you, you sold way too soon. Don't worry about it. If that's where you needed to sell to pay off some bills, get out of some debt or whatever, then so be it. Because just the one thing you never want to do is sell your entire bag. Then you will absolutely regret it. And until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.